Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here today with you. I bear the rare distinction of being the only opera singer in the world to have undergone 2 double lung transplants. And since my surgeries, I've developed a very unusual skill. I can predict the future with a stunning level of accuracy. To demonstrate, I would love a volunteer. Can I have some? You seem so enthusiastic in the green jacket. You were first. Tell me your name. Say it really loud. Yes. One more time. Tony. Tony, can I have a last name? Tony Martinez is very brave. Tony, I predict that you are going to die. And I'm going to go out on a limb, but I predict that you are all going to die. And while I am not dead yet, I have spent many a night in Death's guest house, its wind rapping against the windows, wondering when I would enter the main residence. Death has been a part of my life's narrative for as long as I can remember. When I was 5, my youngest brother died of sudden infant death. Shortly after that, I learned how my family had been shaped by war. As a young teenager, I decided that I was going to pursue my dream of becoming an opera singer. And in opera, we're kind of obsessed with death. It seemed like every heroine I studied would meet her fateful end before the conclusion of the opera. At 20, I was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension, which carried a 2 to 5 year life expectancy. 4.5 years into my diagnosis, when my death seemed imminent, my father and grandfather died 2 months apart. And right now, my life is a very literal continuation of the deaths of 2 other people. Death isn't just for the sick and the old. And while its sting is real, there's good that can come from it. Today, I want to focus on some of the experiences I had surrounding my first transplant. During the 13.5-hour surgery. Big difference. I'm a musician, not a mathematician. I flatlined twice. 40 quarts of blood were infused into my body. I was on every form of life support available. And when my extremely skilled surgeon finally emerged from the operating room, he explained to my poor mother that it was too late. It was unlikely I would survive. For the next 2.5 weeks, my chest was left open. You could see my oversized heart beating inside. It was a blessing at that point that I was in a coma, but I would remain in that coma for 34 days. And while I was never brain dead, I think that you could very fairly characterize my condition as undead. But balancing on mortality's blade isn't a bad place to gain a little cosmic understanding. Imagine your mind free from waking inhibitions for 47,520 minutes. That's like 396 feature-length films worth of dream reel. And while the specifics of my experience are unimportant, I feel that they shed valuable light on our collective moral and mortal existence. So today, I want to share 3 lessons and 3 stories that I learned as a dream unfolded somewhere between this world and the next. I offer you 3 discourses from the undead. Lesson number 1, not everything that is terrifying is meaningful, but almost everything that is meaningful is terrifying. I was walking down this heavenly hallway in my dream when a trapdoor opened beneath me and I tumbled into a swampy, hellish inferno. I was profoundly confused. It seemed endless when someone appeared in a pillar of light and told me that there had been a mistake. This wasn't my final destination. It wasn't supposed to be a passing one, and I would return to the mortal world, but my journey wouldn't be easy. In a flash, I began to ascend what I can only describe as a Jacob's ladder of vibrant silk scarves. It was beautiful and unlike anything my conscious mind could have ever comprehended. When I arrived at my destination, things seemed bright and orderly. But even my subconscious had to deal with the pains of institutionalism. And soon, my return trip to mortality became a bureaucratic nightmare as I tried to reason with life's gatekeepers. It seemed that all of heaven's management was busy, leaving me to sort out my future with a heavenly pen pusher. When I woke up, I realized that practically everything, and maybe anything of any lasting value, have unexpected turns and challenges. Sometimes these things seem pointless or patently unfair. Other times they are more frightening than anything that we could have ever imagined. Just think about it. School, life, birth, success, failure, love, commitment. Whenever we face things that are outside of our control, our immediate reaction is fear and nervousness. But we can navigate those fears, turning them towards meaningful progress and changing the course of our lives and others for the better. If we don't, we are at risk of becoming haters, which brings us to lesson 2. Don't be a hater. The dystopian dream world I returned to was a hot mess. Widespread selfishness had caused mass poverty. No one was spared. We were too economically entwined. We'd assembled as a mass of people in some vast space in hopes of finding some solutions to the seeming impossibilities of our situation. Occasionally, some brave or deluded soul would present an idea to this vast forum, but it was a rough and tumble crowd. And regardless of the merits or the weaknesses of these proposals, each and every one was met with a barrage of opposition and personal attacks as a small, vocal, and increasingly negative minority pushed our entire civilization deeper into crisis. In life, there are a lot of bad ideas, but if we don't have the creative and intellectual space to explore those ideas, we will never make meaningful progress. Haters gonna hate, and critics are going to criticize, and there's room for everything, including doubt. But too much criticism can overwhelm meaningful progress and bring us backward. If you have a better idea, by all means, pitch it. But naysaying is an easy job, and you will always have angry and negative people right there to back you up. Building something meaningful is extremely difficult. So if you don't like a song, turn off the radio, download one that you do, or write a better one. If you don't like a policy, find one that you can support, or create one that others can support you in. But whining and activism are not the same thing. So be active, not destructive. Be a maker, not a hater. Oh, thank you. Even the dystopian dream world and the apocryphal insanity eventually calmed to something that looked a lot more like real life. I returned to the ranks of the living, relearning how to sing. I began to perform at opera houses I'd always dreamed of singing in, for major international events and for world leaders. I married and had a family, and I began to reject my lungs. I'm still in my dream world. This isn't real life yet, but life was really good, and I began to reject my lungs. But even when the concerts had ended, the Acclaimed lights went dark and my voice was silenced. One thing continued. Even in a dream, as life slipped from my fingertips, I was enveloped by the one thing which is eternal: love. The quest for immortality is as old as history, perhaps as old as time itself. We seek it in fortune and fame. We sell it in books and in bottles. But the only thing that will allow us each to transcend death is love. The fountain of youth exists within each of our bodies and souls in an inexhaustible supply. It doesn't take away pain. Frequently, the opposite is true. It can make pain more excruciating. But it is the one thing that offers us each a measure of immortality. Regardless of your beliefs about the nature of the soul, love and hate reverberate through time and space, echoing into the eternities and shaping the cosmic trajectory of the universe. Sometimes our lives put these events into motion, and sometimes it's death. I am here because someone died, because one family chose hope in the face of sorrow, because of one individual's last act of compassion, because someone chose to be an organ donor. I am incredibly fortunate. But as we sit in this exquisite theater today, 18 Americans will die waiting for a match. This year, 110,000 Americans will die waiting for a transplant. And as I speak, over 100,000 Americans are languishing on lists that we have the ability to eliminate. Because while 90% of us say that we support organ donation, fewer than 40% of us actually sign up as donors. I don't think that this disconnect is caused because people are selfish. I don't think it's caused because people are bad. I don't think it's because there's a misunderstanding of the medical process. I think it's because we are afraid of death. And who wouldn't be? While other taboos have been obliterated, death is an outlier that we are unable or unwilling to discuss in a meaningful way. And our unwillingness to engage in that conversation is having devastating cultural, economic, and social ramifications. Think about it. We're obsessed with gore and with violence and with sex, but we don't discuss death in polite company. At some point, we've each worshipped at the altar of youth, success, or wealth, excommunicating death from our discourse, hoping that if we do, it will pass over to the next house. But no matter how hard we try to avoid it, death is an essential part of life. And our desire to extend life doesn't need to be at odds with our ability to be at peace with our own mortality. It seems almost divine that when we are literally incapable of taking our next breath, that we have the ability and the responsibility to give someone else their life back. When we finally come to peace with death, we will start living lives worth dying for. And that process can begin right now. Everyone can take out their smartphones. You can all tweet that you are organ donors. Post it on Facebook. Talk about it with your family and friends when you leave today. Work to cultivate a culture of organ donation in your schools and in your workplaces. Right now in the lobby, there are representatives from the Illinois Transplant Association who are there to sign you up and to tell you more about transplant. Because death should be so much more than an end. It can be more than a tragedy. And you can have peace knowing that when you die, which you will, I promise you, I told you, I never get this wrong. Someone like me or someone like you will wake up.